I'm going to have a look at some little homemade discharge tubes today. I've got a couple of wee things to look at. This one here is just a bit of fun. This is an amalgamation between a fluorescent light and a neon electrode joined together, and there's some argon in there basically, and you can see there's enough UV here coming off to create a bit of fluorescence from the old coating inside the fluorescent tube. As well as these homemade examples, this rather nice example is made by Peter Jimison. He supplies normally neon filled tubes like this. There's a glass tube here with no gas in it at all, and there's a voltage across there supplied by this power supply, which is about 15 kV at 20 kilohertz, something like that. And this is one of the tubes which has neon in it. As you can see, neon is a really bright gas. Neon's the brightest, but you can use other gases for demonstrating or looking at the spectrum. This one is krypton. There's a much less of a light output, and obviously a kind of bluer look to it. And this one, helium, which is it's also quite a bright one, with this kind of peachy colour. So, interesting enough, you can get the same effect really from just pumping the air out of this particular tube here. So I switch on the vacuum pump, which is hooked up. You can see the discharge light will occur. So that's the discharge of air, which is obviously a mixture, mostly nitrogen, which will be predominantly colour. You can take the gas or the air completely out and then backfill with another gas. Quite tricky in this instance because any trace left of air from either oxygen or nitrogen tend to contaminate the gas and affect the colour. But in this video I want to look at tubes with two electrodes like these, but also some with single electrode ends like this one. So there's only one electrode here, just a bit of tape there, and no electrodes as well. This little tube here has got a single end electrode, and it has a coating of fluorescent material on the inside. There's a mixture of kind of air argon in here. Apply a high frequency to it. You can see the fluorescent material gives off light from the UV content of the argon. Now this one has helium in the tube, mainly helium, but it's also got a little drop of iodine. And the pressure's a little bit higher, so you get these more kind of finer streamers. And that got me on to try and think about making a larger vessel. Okay, I've been having a little bit of fun with old bottles. There are two experiments here. This one failed. The idea was to connect a neon electrode onto a bottle and evacuate it. Got this working, got the seal okay, but broke the stem just before it was ready for testing or sealing off, unfortunately. Just the risks you take with these things. This one, it was successful, but there's no electrode in this one. This is just sealed off, and in here is helium and some iodine. The iodine I've probably put far too much in. It has evaporated and condensed on the wall, giving you this kind of foggy pattern on here. The other thing, the pressure was a little high, so I put two bits of copper tape here. I use an external high frequency supply to generate a localized discharge here, which helps ionize the rest of the gas when the voltage is applied around, or a field applied around the actual glass bottle. So this has worked, but with the pressure being high and the voltage being required to generate the streamers inside, the bottle heats up quite considerably, reaching about 40 degrees, and obviously it's not designed. There is an issue with evacuating a bottle that's not really designed and then heating it, so there's always a chance of implosion. So I wouldn't recommend doing this, but interesting experiment. The pressure is so high that it's quite difficult to initiate the discharge. I've got the Tesla coil here on the right, and if I apply You can see an arc forms, but there is a risk of the glass cracking with the hot arc. I've added a high frequency, high voltage terminal on the outside here, and if I apply a voltage here, hopefully the gas inside will break down. This is RF here. Okay, you can see the internal discharge at the high frequency external supply here. So this isn't that high, it's about 15 kV I think here at 20 kilohertz. But this has initiated a discharge inside the gas, and if I bring up the voltage on the Tesla coil, it's much easier now to generate internal arcs. This generates quite a bit of heat, and particularly at higher voltages, so I reckon the bottle would crack with much use, but you can see it's okay at lower power with this initial discharge starter. So that's predominantly helium. There will be some other gases because I haven't gassed it out properly with heating. Interesting, on the camera these look quite kind of more bluish. They're quite, the arc itself being in helium is quite a peachy colour, which you expect from helium. But the pressure is slightly higher, so we can get these streamers. It raises the temperature of the glass up to about 25-30 degrees, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Case of a sudden implosion.